Let's introduce our guests of the program today. We're joined by Ishkaran Bhandari. He's a political analyst, a lawyer, has often supported the government on key issues. Will he support the Prime Minister on this as well? We'll ask him in a moment from now. Nikhil Dey has often been a critic of the government, but he's someone who has spent his life working with workers. He's in fact a founder member of the MKSS, an organization that is committed to the rights of workers and Mazdoors. We're joined by Anjali Bhardwaj. Anjali has done a lot of work for transparency in public life, has been a key part of our rights to information in particular, and is now with the Satark Nagrik Sangathan. Welcome, Anjali. PKD Nambiar, who's a political analyst, commentator, has also often supported this government on key issues. Will this issue be one of them? We'll find out in a moment from now. Sanjay Jha enjoys the peculiarity of being a lapsed and a sacked Congress spokesperson, critical of the Modi government, but also often critical of his own erstwhile, I don't know if I should call it erstwhile, of his own party. This was a humanitarian crisis. It has nothing to do with politics. All right.
Barkha, there is no doubt that it was a kiosk. In the first time when the lockdown happened, as Prime Minister clearly said, it was a universal challenge. It was not just limited to us or to India, or for that matter to a US or any other people, everybody. There was definitely a lot of chaos and confusion amongst the governments, amongst the people, amongst the authorities, on all across. So it is not limited to one person or a group of people or a state or a country. It was all across. What the Prime Minister was actually talking about while giving the reply to the motion, the only thing what he said, that there are people in the opposition parties, a time when the entire country was required to be standing together, there are some people who used it as a political opportunity or a misadventure or a misunderstanding to malign the Prime Minister and the government, rather than standing together in solidarity and as a country. So we have never seen that an opposition leaders in the US or in Canada is raising different voices. We are a large country with a large amount of people who are under poverty. So there is no doubt that we will be able to compare ourselves with other places. But then it is equally important in a crisis situation, everybody comes together and stand together, rather than making it as a more of like a political opportunity. And it is something like a very hard fact. You have reported it, and many people have reported what happened in Anand Vihar bus adda or in the Mumbai railway stations, the kind of chaos which has created. And there is no doubt, it has got an ample proof. It is also a truth what you have shown few minutes ago, that a large number of people have died because of whatever reason. But we also need to understand that is the time the political parties should be coming out. You have seen in the first couple of hours, and of course, I agree with Sanjay ji, the later part of the day, almost every parties have been started. Their volunteers were there on the ground and distributing foods and whatever it is.
Did you agree with the Prime Minister's statement? I want to ask you.
I think what he said is actually true. See, I live in Delhi. I have an office in Mumbai too. I'm very well aware about what happened at that particular time. This is absolutely a truth. Now, that is the time, instead of playing a politics.
Okay. So you're saying the opposition played politics.
I'll give you one example. One example in Sangam Bihar. Bihar. I mean, I have the video proof. There was a Delhi government vehicle was roaming around, and the Aam Aadmi Party people were auto rickshaw ke upar jo mic laga ke, they were saying that the people to vacate. And you also know that on Anand Vihar bus adda, from there the people were being evacuated from the buses. And as you said rightly, they were not known to where to go. So there is a lot of misadventure or a confusion which has been created by these two major cities, that is Delhi and Mumbai. And Aam Aadmi Party and the Shiv Sena government or the Maha-Aghadi government needs to take some responsibility of it, rather than putting everything and blaming anything and everything to Mr. Modi. Also, please note, it is not just limited to that. As Ishkaran was talking about, that there was a vaccine hesitancy is created in India.
I'm not saying
so it will be very unfair to even for any of us to say that, not to look at those visuals and give a comment and justify any of those stuff. I mean, that is going to be very, very bad. But what we are discussing today is that they were all visuals in multiple places. There are people who have supported somebody or the others. As you said, किसी का सेट नहीं दिया होगा, किसी का employer ne, yeah, somewhere or the other way, or somebody may have even sold their valuables and bought a ticket and went. It was that kind of a crisis. But the bottom line, what we are talking about is the Prime Minister's speech at the Parliament, wherein he was telling that the time at a time when that kind of a crisis hit, rather than supporting the government and standing together, there were a handful of opposition parties and leaders who took as a political opportunity for themselves to score a point, to undermine the position of the government and the Prime Minister, just to ensure that there is a kiosk is happened. And this is a truth which we all know, that in multiple media channels have showcased that particular time. So it is not about that. When the Prime Minister, as Nikhil ji said, that when Prime Minister himself has clearly announced that aap jahan pe hai wahi pe rukiyega. So of course there will be doubt.
I'll tell you, realized belatedly that it made a mistake.
Well, Barkha, there is a say that when a crisis hits, it's always considered as a dynamic situation. Nobody in this whole universe, even maybe the God can predict, or I don't know, but no government, or at least the government's names which we take, even like Sanjay ji loves to take, the US, UK, Canada, all these so-called big countries, the best of health facilities has failed miserably, even worse than India. So I think there are times we all need to understand the situation and respond. And as Prime Minister said, that what we are all looking at from a constructive opposition, rather than, so if you really look at the entire speech, because we are only talking about one portion of his speech, what he was talking about one by one, where all he has been opposed, and taking the name of him in the early morning, they say subah uth ke muh dhote hi तुरंत मोदी को गाली दे दो, मोदी गाली दे दो, मोदी चोर है. So from there, so the idea was not about the opposition's behavior in that particular time, was not about the corona crisis, rather than that making it as an anti